as we go along for the next few hours, I'm going to have hands-on activities for you. So I would love if you can log into Canvas there. You can either go to canvas.tamu.edu and log in, or you can log into Canvas from your Howdy portal. You can go ahead and log into Canvas, access your Spring shell, not your Spring shell, I'm sorry, your Spring template. Okay, you should have a sandbox course or a playground in order to play today, right? When it comes to a sandbox course, I just view it as a template. So go ahead and access your demo course, okay? So we're gonna go in and I've just got right? This is something that it should look like. This is your Spring template for Spring 2021, which by the way, who can believe that we're in 2021 already? But this is our Spring template, all right? Now, we are gonna start off today with a page, okay? When it comes to pages, think of pages as a textbook page, okay? If you are reading content on a page, there can be images. It's formatted nice and neat. If this is an e-textbook page, there might be media on there as well. So think of it that way. We can put in plenty of information, right? This can be lecture notes. This can be supplemental information, okay? This can just be, office documents, right? We can put in plenty of information for our students. But to get started with a page today, over here on the far left, once we access our demo course, right, our template, not our template, I keep using that word, our sandbox, over here on the far left, this menu on the left, this is what we call our course navigation, this text, right? Starts at home, ends at settings. This is our course navigation, okay? We're looking for pages, okay? You see pages right here? We're looking for pages in order to create a page. Now, when we go to pages, because we have that beautiful page set as our home page, we're gonna select view all pages up here at the very top left-hand corner, right? So we're gonna click on pages, then we're gonna say view all pages. Now, in order to create a new page, we're gonna say plus page, okay? We've already got some pages in here because of our template, okay? That was put over for us, but we're gonna say plus page. We're gonna start from scratch today. Okay, we're going to start from the very beginning and see what we can create. So we're going to say plus page, and we get what is called the rich content editor. Remember what I said earlier. When we learn the rich content editor here in context of a page, we're going to know it in a lot of places for Canvas. Okay. Up here at the very top where our blinking cursor is, this is where we're going to give it a title, okay? So this can be, I don't know, week 4 lecture notes geology review, okay? I'm just thinking about my time at A&M and taking geology as a freshman, right? Or oceanography as a sophomore. So, right, this can be our title, right? Whatever our need is. For the sake of today, I'm just going to say A&M content page, right? I'm just going to be nice and generic, right? And I'm just going to say A&M content page. Now, as I said, here are all of our tools for the content page. Now, where this says 12 point, right? That's font size, all the way over here to our super and subscript, right? This is pretty standard. This is, if you're familiar with any kind of, I'll show my age here, word processor. Right? If you're familiar with any kind of word processor, you can use these tools. Now, this paragraph one I am going to utilize. I'm going to get on my soapbox a little bit and talk about this one. But these we're not going to talk about today. Okay? From this little chain all the way to this ellipses and talk about some of these as well. We're going to talk about some of those, right? We're just going to learn some of these tools and how we can build out our content. Now, first thing we're going to do, notice my cursor is here in this big box, right? We're just going to start typing. So I'm going to say, I don't know, maybe instructions, guidelines, support, right? I'm just going to start typing in some information. Now, under instructions, maybe we start saying, for this week, please do the following, right? We might start putting in some information for our students. Okay, now remember I said I was going to get on my soapbox a little bit for this paragraph tag, right? I'm going to select really quick instructions, okay? Just going to highlight the word instructions. And you see where it says paragraph? I'm just going to click this little drop down arrow and I have my heading tags, okay? When it comes to formatting a page, right, for structure, okay, I think of heading tags for structure. We do this for a couple of reasons. Now, I'm going to be honest. I do this for one reason, the first reason, for visually chunking up my page, okay? This is going to make things just visually stand out on my page. But also, if a user or student, excuse me, is coming to my page and is utilizing a screen reader, I need to be using my heading tags, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4, for accessibility reasons. Okay, so for accessibility purposes, it is best to use our heading tags. Now, you may be wondering, what about heading 1? Well, this title up here at the very top, this title is a heading 1. So heading 2, heading 3, heading 4, think of it as an outline. Okay, think of it as an outline where you would never skip bullets, right? You would never put a sub bullet above a bullet, right? So just think of it as an outline of sorts. So you would never go heading 2 all the way down to heading 4 just because it looks pretty. Because when it comes to a screen reader, you want to make sure that things flow naturally, right? So we're going to say instructions will be a heading 2, right? We want it to flow from a heading 1 down to a heading 2, okay? Now, after that, maybe guidelines, right, is another heading, and that's going to be a part of instructions. Maybe that's going to be heading 3, and then we can go back to a heading 2 for support, okay? So we're just going to, right, start to structure our content, right? Structure the content on our page and begin to kind of chunk that information, right? We can chunk that information. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is this link, right? This is where we can begin to put in some links. So if I need students to visit the Canvas, community for your student guides, right? Now, I would probably make sure I have the link to student guides, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to change Canvas community into a link, okay? I'm going to change this into a link. So I'm going to take Canvas community and I'm going to highlight that. When it comes to links, do not put the entire link, right? We're not going to put in https://community, right? We're not going to put this in and change it to a link. Okay, we're not going to do that because a screen reader is going to read out that entire link, right? So we're just going to click on the chain. Notice my text, Canvas community, and I'm going to put in the link to the Canvas community. And I'm going to say done. Now Canvas community is going to be a link. Now, if we have images, okay, if we want to put an image into our page, okay, if we want to put an image into our page, right, we can click this little image right here, right, and we can upload from our computer, okay? We also have Unsplash available. If you just need an image, right, this is a stock photo website that you can utilize, but we can upload from our computer. Let me see what picture I've got on here. Oh, I've got like a geology picture on here somewhere. There it is. We'll just open that. Nothing super fancy, but we can give it alt text as well. Notice it asks for my alt text. Alt text is just describing the image. Now we would put in some context as to what it means on the page as well. But for the sake of today, I'm just going to say this is a geology formation. Okay. And we're going to say submit. It's going to take a second. This is going to be rather large. I'm going to show you how to resize it. Notice it's really large on my page. I'm just going to click it. And notice I get these resize handles, right? This little box right here, this little resize handle. I'm going to click, hold, and drag down. Just resize this image so it fits on my page a little bit better. So far, we've created a page, right? We've gone to pages. We've said view all pages plus page, right? We gave it a title. We just put in some text. We structured that text with some headings. We put in a link and we put in an image. Okay. Now, I want you to start to play, right? I want you to just start to play with some of these concepts and see what you can do. We'll look at some of these other areas in just a second. Okay, we'll look at some of these other areas in just 1 minute when it comes to additional ways to format and one of my favorite areas on the Rich Content Editor. As I promised, you would have activities, okay? The way it's going to work for the next 2 hours and 43 minutes is I'm going to give you slides for your activities, okay? So here's your activity, just to add a page, add an image, text, or links, or all three if you've got time. But the purpose here is to have fun. If you just want to add a bunch of images on there and see what all you can add, have fun with it, okay? Now, if you're adding some text and you've got structure, play with those headings. Remember how important those headings are, okay? Remember how important those headings are. I've got a timer here, so we'll give you, let's give you 3 minutes to do this, right? Just to add your page and start to put some content on there. I have another assignment here in just a second, or another activity, not assignment. Assignment sounds so not so fun. Activity. We've got another activity here in a second. So we'll give you about 3 minutes to do this. I'm going to mute my microphone while you work so you can work in peace and quiet. All right. I'm going to skip this next icon for just a minute, but we'll point out that if you needed to embed or upload a file, you can upload a file. This is very similar to the image we just did, right? You can drag and drop, or you can click to upload a file from your computer. Now these next icons over, right? This one's media site. This one is Office 365, or we can click this little plugin, okay? And we can see different ways we can integrate tools into our rich content editor, okay? So we have different tools available to us as well. Then we get some formatting options. We have some bullets, right? Indentation. And then we can also clear formatting, but we can also embed tables, okay? So we can just click this drop down, right? Pretty simple, right? Just choosing the size of the table as well. Now, for my math folks out there, we also have a math equation editor. And then if we have an embed code from any kind of third-party tool, right, and we want to keep students inside the rich content editor, we can do that as well. But now, I mentioned to you that I wanted to show you my absolute favorite, okay, my absolute favorite tool in the rich content editor, and that is the record upload media tool. Okay, the record upload media tool is a great way, in my opinion, to create student engagement. Now, remember what I said, we're going to learn this rich content editor on a page, but we can use this in places like announcements as well. So when we record and upload this media, which is going to just be an audio or video of ourselves, we can really create that engagement. So if we wanted to do a weekly announcement, right, we can just create a video of ourselves and let students see us, hear us, engage with us. Okay, so I'm just going to click the little icon right here, the little media icon, and notice I can upload from my computer. Okay, if I've got a media file that I want to use, I can go ahead and upload from my computer, or I have this record tab. Okay, now if this is going to be my first time, I'm going to need to allow access to my camera and microphone. Okay, and whenever I say allow, there we go. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Hey, good morning, everybody. This is live. This is real. I promise. Hey, there we go. Gig 'em, right? See that. Let me move. Here's my head. There we go. Class of 06 right there. I told you. There's my wife's piece of paper. Interdisciplinary studies. But anyways, you can create that level of engagement. Okay, create that level of engagement with your students. Record a video, right? Mention something. I like to keep this 2, maybe 3 minutes long, if that, right? It's meant to be short and sweet, right? Just something to mention, maybe what they're going to be doing for the week. Maybe if you need to explain something on the assignment, okay, you can do that as well. Now, what's really cool about this, and we're going to talk about quizzing here in a little bit, but what's really cool about this is if you do an essay question on a quiz, students have the same rich content editor on the essay, and they can respond with this tool as well. So for performance-based, for example, they can go ahead and respond with a video, or foreign language, they can respond with a video, okay? Now, if I wanted to have just audio, see down here where it says webcam, I can say no video, and then students, or you, let me rephrase that, you can do just audio. But we'll say start recording. Now, whenever I say start recording, it's going to count backwards. But here's a tip for you. You have to smile, okay? You have to smile. If you don't smile, you get a thumbnail that looks really funny, okay? So you have to smile. That I've done this enough times that I promise. So we're going to say start recording and a smile. Hey students, it's Mr. Rogers. I appreciate everything you've been doing, all the hard work you've put in, but this week we're going to do the following. Okay, see, like I said, you got to smile, you get a really nice thumbnail. We'll say save. It's going to process here. It's going to take just a second, right? You get a little spinny wheel, it processes, and whenever it finishes, right, it's going to finish. It kind of flashes, and then it puts it there inside your rich content editor for you, okay? So I want you to play with that tool, okay? Let me show you again where it is. It's this one with the little play button and the music note, okay? All right, so select that media button, okay? Allow access to your microphone or device if needed, okay? Create a recording, save it, view the recording on the page, all right? Now, I'm gonna pick on Victoria Solin just for a second, all right? Yes, ma'am, your camera is on. 9 times out of 10, this won't work if your camera's on in Zoom. I've had every now and then it will work. So if you try it and your camera won't work inside a Canvas, you might need to turn your camera off momentarily inside of Zoom. With that said, I love your smiling face, so please turn it back on inside of Zoom if you don't mind. So I'll give you again about, let's do 3 minutes so you can find the tool and record that video. All right. Now, before we save and publish our page, there's one important thing that I like to do, whether I'm editing content or whether I'm developing content from scratch, okay? Notice down here in the bottom right-hand corner, okay? In the bottom right-hand corner. This is the accessibility checker. We have a checker built in that you can run just to see if there's any potential errors on your page. Okay, this will just say, hey, and it'll flag some things, and you can go ahead and fix them. Now, I don't think I've got any errors, so let me create an error really quick. I'm going to take the word instructions, and I'm just going to change the font color to this really hard to read yellow. Notice this is really hard to read. So we're going to look at our links. We're going to look at color contrast. We're going to look at images for alt text. We'll look at tables to make sure that they're accessible. So we're just going to run this. Okay. We're going to run the accessibility checker. And there we go. I have one error, right? I've got one error. So I click the little person in the circle. I have one error. Now what I can do, right? I don't have to get out of the accessibility checker and then change the text color, run it again, right? I can change this within the checker itself. So I can just click, hold, and drag. And notice right here, watch the apply button. I don't get the apply button. Notice, see it kind of flash. I don't get the apply button until I achieve the appropriate contrast. Okay. Notice a minimum contrast of 3:1. All right. So I'm going to say apply, and it's going to change it for me. Notice the color is updated for me. And now I get balloons at the very end, letting me know, hey, there's really no other errors. Now, I'm just going to tell you, this accessibility checker, I don't view as one and done. If we make changes to our content, always run it again, right? Always run it, make sure things are as accessible as possible. When I'm done creating content, I have two options for saving: save versus save and publish. The maroon save button is draft state. Students will not be able to see it. Okay. So I can come back to this and edit it at any time and not impact the content that students have seen. Save and publish. Okay. Save and publish means I'm ready for students. And whenever I deploy it into my modules here in just a little bit, I am good to go. All right. So I'm going to say save and publish. And now this is what my students will see. Okay. This is what they will see. So I would love for you to run the accessibility checker on your page. When you are done, select either save or save and publish. Okay. Depending upon your need, they're inside of your practice shell this morning. Okay. So we'll give you, about 2-ish minutes. All right. Give you just a couple of minutes to run that accessibility checker, start to fix any corrections, and then save and publish your page. All right. Before we move on to assignments, I just want to give you some considerations when we're building out our pages. First of all, consider the font size, right? We didn't change font size, right? All we did was change header size, or change headers to change our font size. But be mindful of that font size, right? You don't want to overwhelm students and give them, right, huge fonts on pages. Okay, so just be aware of that, and then also include audio or video on your pages, right? I really view it as engaging our learners, right? Especially with video. They want to be able to see your face and know who you are, in my opinion, at least. So include that video, right, with that media tool. Also, be mindful of that page length. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think students scroll past what they can see. So be mindful of that page length. And if it's getting a little long, break it up into multiple pages. Okay, break it up into multiple pages and then deploy them into your modules as maybe a 1A and a 1B sort of situation. And then also right? We looked at that plugin, right? Where there were the different apps or LTIs or integrations available, right? Integrate those tools. So maybe bringing in your Office 365 documents, right? Increase that engagement with your learners by utilizing tools. If it's a tool you're already using, just embed it within the page itself. And then also, right, chunk your text, right? Visually, it stands out. But then also we want to chunk our text with headers for accessibility purposes also, right? That's sort of the main reason, but then also for visual purposes as well. All right, let's move on to assignments now, okay? What can we do with assignments? How can we create an assignment? How can we engage our learners in different ways? What assignment types are available? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, first of all, we're going to navigate here in our course navigation to assignments. You guessed it. Okay. Now, first of all, I would like to point out there is a template, right? There is a template that you can utilize. Okay. There is a template you can utilize if you would like to, but we are going to create one from scratch. Okay. But you can definitely, okay, utilize this template if you would like to, but we're just going to create a new one. Okay, we're going to create a new one. So we are going to select plus assignment up here at the very top. Okay, we're just going to select plus assignment. Let it load, and this should look pretty familiar. Okay, this should look pretty familiar today. But instead of a title for a page, we're going to give this an assignment name. So I'm just going to call mine week 1 assignment. Journal reflection. I don't know. Okay, week 1 assignment, journal reflection. Actually, I'm going to call this week 2 assignment, journal reflection. Now, we would put in our instructions and our guidelines. I also like support information. Okay. Support information is very beneficial, right? For students who may be new to Canvas, or if we're using a feature of Canvas that may not be, right, if we're using a different functionality or something, right, whether this is a discussion, whether this is an assignment, whether this is a quiz, right, always beneficial to put in support information and linking out to those Canvas guides. Okay, but right, we would just put in for this week's assignment, you will reflect upon the following, right? And I would structure this with my headers and everything. Now, when it comes to the actual assignment details, okay, underneath, this is where the power lies. These are our assignment settings. First of all, points possible. Okay, points possible. Right, this is defined in your syllabus. This could be 5 points. This could be 25. This could be 100 points. Okay, I'm just gonna give mine. This is a journal. We'll just say it's worth 10 points. Now, assignment groups. Okay, this is an organizational aspect or graded categories. You can define these in your assignments index page, right, by selecting assignments. But we are not going to talk about assignment groups today. But this is how you would organize your groups, right, into your graded categories. Then you choose how you're going to display your grade. Okay, you can choose how you display your grade, right? Points, complete, incomplete. Did they do it or not? X or check, right? Percentage. What did I do? Out of 10. So if, right, if they got an 8 out of 10, instead of showing them 8 out of 10, it would show that they got an 80%, right? Letter grade and GPA scale, right? This is dependent upon some schemas being set up, and then not graded, right? Not graded, right? We're just not going to grade this, right? So that's a possibility as well. We can also say that this does not count towards the final grade. So we're still going to assess it. We're going to have them submit things. But keep in mind that if we click this checkbox, students will know that it doesn't count towards their final grade. So they may not submit it. So just keep that in mind. But then we get into our submission types, and I want to talk about our submission types, okay? You have 4 different ones. 2 that I really want to point out are no submission and on-paper submission, okay? No submission and on paper. When it comes to the Canvas gradebook, you cannot create a gradebook column, okay? You cannot just go to the gradebook and say, I need to assess students on something. I need to give them grades. Let me create a gradebook column, okay? You cannot do that. The way you do that is by creating an assignment and defining it as a no submission or on paper submission. The benefit of doing it this way is that you still give them the instructions in the rich content editor. So when they come to Canvas, they're going to know what's going to be expected of them, whether this is a face-to-face assignment, whether this is a project, right? Whatever it may be, okay, whatever it may be, then they're going to know those instructions and the expectations as opposed to just a column in the gradebook. Now, the difference between no submission and on paper, okay? No submission is something that is not tangible, right? Class discussions, okay? Speeches, okay? Performances, something that cannot be physically touched. That's just the best way to put it. On paper, this is that project, okay? This is something that is physically being turned in or even electronically being turned in that's not being turned in Canvas, okay? So that's the difference between the two whenever you are wanting to assess them, provide the feedback in the gradebook, and giving them their grade, okay? External tool, this works on tools that are integrated within Canvas. And so if you're wanting to use a tool that is integrated and then have students submit that way, you can do that as well. But what we're going to talk about today is online. This is the most common type, okay? When we select online, we have 4 different entry options for an online submission type. Students will get a submit button inside of Canvas, okay? And then depending upon our options as to what they're going to submit will depend upon their interface. Now, online entry options, text entry, right? That rich content editor that we've played in this morning, if we say, I want a text entry option for an online submission, then they will have that same rich content editor. So this is great for just short responses, okay? You're going to give them a passage to a reading, and you just want a couple of paragraphs maybe, right? Just give me a short response. That's all I need from you. Just give me something short and sweet. Website URL. I want you to give me a web address, right? This could be in business, maybe your LinkedIn profile, right? Maybe in a design class, maybe we have a virtual portfolio, okay? Maybe we have a student portfolio in an interdisciplinary studies class, showcasing our work. right? So what you get is a snapshot of whatever website they submitted, right? Whatever landing page, you just get a screenshot of that and a link out to the entire website. Okay, so that's what you'll get. Media recordings, that media tool that we played with, they get the same tool. Okay, so again, same thing I talked about for the essay question for quizzes, right? Speeches, performance-based, foreign language, right? Read this passage, respond in the foreign language, right? Respond with your answers in the foreign language. Just, right? That's the possibilities, right? They will record audio or video or upload their own creations, okay? File uploads, most common type, right? I've written a 20-page paper and I need to upload the Word document, right? That's what file uploads is. That's kind of the standard. That's what we see a lot. But in addition to having file uploads, we can restrict the upload file type. So if we say to students, you know what, you've written this paper, but I want this paper in, I don't know, a Word document or a PDF, right? We would say doc, comma, docx. Notice there's no period and there's no space. And I'm doing both doc and docx, depending upon what version they're going to save it in, and then comma, PDF. Oops, not PDG, PDF. So now I'm restricting them to Word documents or PDFs. Okay. Now maybe I say, you know what? I want to be able to make comments and I want to engage on that, make edits. So maybe it is just doc and docx. Okay. But I'm not going to restrict upload file types. Submission attempts. It used to be inside Canvas, they could just keep on submitting. And the default is that they can keep on submitting. But now we can limit that. So if we say, you know what, draft assignments have an unlimited, and I'll grade your most recent, but your final assignment, right, that final paper, I want, you can only submit it once, right? We're not going to submit it, revise it after we've realized, right, or after we realize, oh, I uploaded the wrong thing, I'm sorry. No, you have one attempt and that's it. Okay, so we can limit these amount of attempts if we want to. You all have a plagiarism review with Turnitin if you would like to. You can also do group assignments or peer reviews. And then you also have the assign to, okay? The assign to. This is where you set the due date and the availability dates, okay? Due dates and availability dates. So a due date, right? This is when the assignment's due. We'll say this is going to be due on Wednesday, tomorrow, right? By default, when you just select the date, so all I did was click this calendar, say on the 13th, it puts it at the end of the day, 11:59 p.m. You can change the time if you need to or would like to, but you can also set an availability window from and until. So we can say maybe this opened yesterday at the beginning of the day, 12 a.m., and they're going to have until Friday. Okay. They will have until Friday in order to submit this. Now, this means they could see this assignment before then, but they could not submit to it. As long as it's published, they can see it. They just can't submit until after Monday at midnight. It's going to be due tomorrow at the end of the day. Anything between Wednesday and Friday will be considered late. Canvas marks it late. The students, it's marked late. It's red, it's bold. They know it's late. You know it's late. Everybody's going to know it's late. Okay? After the until date, So Friday at 11:59 p.m. after the until date, students can no longer submit. Okay. They no longer get that submit button. And now it is marked as missing. Between Wednesday and Friday, late. After Friday, missing. Now we can begin to differentiate these dates. Okay. If we have multiple sections inside of one course, we do not need to have multiple assignments for each section. Okay. We do not need to do that. We can differentiate the dates based upon section. Or maybe if we have a student who is ill or absent and it's been excused, we can differentiate by student as well. Let me hop on over here to my training course. Let me just open up a random assignment. Let me see if I've got one. Oh, we'll just try this one. Yeah, this one will work. Looking at my assignment here, notice this one. Let me change this due date to Wednesday, and then it was available from the 11th to Friday the 15th. So right now this is set to everybody, okay? But I can click that. I don't know if you saw that. That was my fault. I can click this plus add button, right? Notice yours also has this plus add button. Okay. Oops, didn't click. We'll click plus add. And we have our sections up here at the very top. So we'll say section 1 is actually, you know what? They're a Tuesday, Thursday course. So they're going to have it it's due on Thursday, and it opened on Tuesday, and they have until Saturday. And maybe we take this one, everyone else, and this is section 2. So now section 2 has this date, and section 1 has this date. So all you do is click in that box and select your section. Or we can say plus add and select a student. And we can say, you know what, Frank, his is going to be due next week. He was ill, but we're going to open it up and give him the same start date. Because if he turns it in early, I'm fine with that. But his is going to be due this day, and he has until this day. Okay? So just click this plus add, and you can begin to differentiate by section or by student. Okay? Giving different dates depending upon your need. Okay, I want you to start to play with the assignments. Also, before I let you loose on the assignments, remember, save is draft. Save and publish means I'm ready for my students. I'm going to say save and publish on mine. And notice after I save and publish, I get the settings, right? How many points it is, what are they submitting, what is the availability window, and when is it due, okay? As well as my instructions. All right. I would love for you to play with your assignments. Create an assignment. Remember, go to assignments in your course navigation, click plus assignment in the upper right-hand corner. Just create one from scratch. Add assignment details and select all those assignment options. Play with it, right? See what all is there. Save or save and publish your assignment, depending upon your need, inside your practice shell. And we will give you, let's give you like 4 minutes for this, right? I want you to be able to look at all of those settings. All right, let's take a look at our agenda here and just see where we're at. Move my. All right, we have done building, right? We've done building, content page, talked about the rich content editor. Then we did assignments. We created an assignment. We did some settings on assignments. Really talked about creation of an online submission type assignment. And then talked about the no submission and on paper submission type when it comes to creating a gradebook column, right, for assessing our students and providing feedback to them. We still have quizzes and organizing and then a grading demo left in the next couple of hours. But I promised you a break at the top of each hour. And so it is time for a break. I don't know about you, but I could use a break. My voice could use a little bit of a rest. So let's come back in 7 minutes. It just changed to 10:03, so let's come back at 10:10. Okay? I will leave the agenda up on my screen here, and we'll see you all back at 10:10. All righty. Hopefully that was a good chance to stretch your legs. I know, personally, I did get up and walk around for just a minute. Anyways, so yeah, let's get started with quizzes. We're going to take a look at graded quiz, settings of the quiz. After that, we'll hop on over to organizing our content with modules, okay? We'll take another break here in close-ish to an hour, depending upon where we're at. But I'm going to hop on over back again to my course here, and let's hop on into quizzes. As you may have guessed, in our course navigation, we're looking for quizzes. Okay, that's where we're going to head, is on over to quizzes. Now, just how we had a template for our quiz, for our assignment, we also have a template that we can go ahead and utilize, right? Just got some guidelines, right? It's got the nice little graphic. There's a guide here out for the instructors for quizzes. You can go ahead and utilize this if you would like to. But right, that's just a little template if you would like to. But what we're going to do, we're going to create one from scratch. Okay. This plus quiz button up here at the very top of the page. We're going to say plus quiz. And again, this probably looks familiar, although it's a little different, right? The pages, it was blank, and we had to put in a title. Assignment, it says assignment name. We had to put in assignment name. Now this one says unnamed quiz. Personally, I wish it were blank, but we're going to put in a quiz name, and we're just going to say A&M sample quiz. Okay, that's all we're going to put in here. And we would put in some quiz instructions, right? And again, we would format this with our headers and whatnot, but I'm just going to put in some basic information. We're just going to say, this is a timed quiz. You will have 10 minutes and 3 attempts. Work on your own. Use your notes, right? Okay. Basic information. Now, underneath your instructions, you do have 4 different quiz types. The default is a graded quiz. That's what we're going to be working on today, but I do want to point out the other options as well. First of all, a practice quiz. Okay, there is a practice quiz. This is, as you may be able to guess, an ungraded assessment, right? This is just a means for you to provide the assessment to your students and let them practice the information. Then you also have surveys, okay? Same question types, but when it comes to surveys, this can be a graded or ungraded survey. So if you want to provide credit for them completing a survey in your course, you can do that. But what's great about a survey, notice whenever I select one of these, where is it? You have this option right here, is to keep your submissions anonymous. So you're not going to know whose submission is whose. So this is great for pre-course surveys to get background information on content. Maybe you think you need to start at one point in the semester, right, with your content, and find out, no, I need to back up a little bit. Or, no, my students have a great understanding already. Let me move forward a little bit, right? And we can really progress through the semester at a different rate. This is also great for post surveys, right? And be able to get some information. How did I do, right? Just for your own information. How did I do? What do you think? How was the content? Was it challenging? Okay. Different survey options are available to you. Now, but we're going to do graded quiz. Okay. We're going to do graded quiz. Now, again, assignment group. Again, remember, this is your graded categories. You can set them up in your assignments section. But then we get our options for our quiz. Okay. Our different options. First of all, we can shuffle the answers. Okay. I want to pause, point out this is answers. So if we click this checkbox, all of our answer choices will be shuffled. Okay. So if we're going to put a multiple choice question in our assessment, and we're going to say something like all of the above, and we are shuffling our answers, that all of the above may end up in this second position, and it's not going to make a lot of sense. So we may want to be saying something like all of these choices or none of these choices. Okay, so keep that in mind. Time limit, right? This is in minutes. I believe I said my students were going to have 10 minutes. Then we can also allow multiple attempts, right? Low stakes assessments. Maybe we want to give them multiple attempts. Just select multiple attempts. You can choose which score to keep out of the multiple attempts. The highest score, doesn't matter when they took that assessment, you keep the highest of those scores. The latest, I don't care if they got 100 on the first attempt and a 50 on the second attempt and the last attempt. Give me the 50. Or my favorite, the average of the scores. Okay? The average. Whenever we average out these scores, if there's 2 attempts, and they tank the first attempt in order to see what questions are going to be on the assessment, and they get a 20. And then they know what's going to be on the low stakes quiz, right? And then they get 100. Well, we're going to average those together, and they're going to actually end up with a 60. Okay? So that's kind of my favorite, but I'm just going to keep highest for now. Now, under allowed attempts, if these dashes are in here, and we don't click this checkbox and put in a number, then students will have an unlimited amount of attempts. But I believe in my instructions, I was going to give them 3 attempts. So I'm going to click this checkbox. Notice those dashes go away, and now I'm going to say 3 attempts. Now we can choose if students see their responses or not, right? Now, notice if we let students see their quiz responses, what did they say? Incorrect questions will be marked in their feedback. So they'll know, hey, you got this one wrong. Okay. Now we can choose right after their last attempt, after each attempt, if they can see the correct answers or not, right? Only after their last attempt. But we can also choose when to show the correct answers and hide them. So if this assessment's going to be due on a Friday and we want them to have the correct answers Monday before class, click the calendar and change that information. Again, you can always uncheck this, and then students are not going to see those responses. You can also show one question at a time. By default, when a student takes this assessment, all questions are going to be on one long scrolling page. So if this is a 100-question assessment, it's going to be on one long page. So they can scroll up and down and take the entire assessment. But if we show one question at a time, you can lock the questions after they answer them. So this prevents backtracking. Okay. So if you question 2, they answer, right? And they go, oh, I'm not sure about that, but they answered anyways. Then they get to question 42 and they go, oh, I answered question 2 wrong based upon this information in question 42, right? They can't go back to question 2 if you lock the questions. Okay. So just keep that in mind. But there is one question type that we're going to take into consideration. And we'll talk about that if we are locking the questions, okay? Quiz restrictions, we can require an access code. This is nothing more than a passcode or a password that all students will have, right? This is when we're face-to-face and we write happy spring break on the board, or if they're in a testing center and we write Giga Maggies on the board, and that is the passcode in order to complete the assessment. Now, filter by IP addresses. This requires IP addresses for a testing center to be set up, for example. And then also you can choose your assign to, right? Just like we did for the assignments. You put in a due date and an availability window, and you have your differentiation options. Okay, you again have your differentiation options. So if you have multiple sections, right, differentiate those due dates. Don't create multiple assessments inside your course. Differentiate those dates by section. Or if you have a student who is ill, absent, needs an extension, go ahead and differentiate the due dates based upon the student as well. Okay, I'm going to put in a due date for the sake of today. Maybe this is going to be due Thursday, but I'm not going to give them a huge window. You know what? I'm not even going to take late work, right? Notice my due date and my until date is the same on this one. So they do not, right? They do not have any availability for late work. They got one day to take it. I guess they can do 2 days, right? All day Wednesday, all day Thursday in order to take this assessment, and then no chance to submit late work. Now, I am not going to save and publish yet because we're going to create quiz questions here in a minute, but I want you to start to create your quiz, and I'll give you those instructions here in a second. I do also want to mention to you all that it's my understanding that A&M also has two, what's the word I'm looking for here? Assessment, I guess like lockdown systems, tools, assessment tools for, sorry, it's escaping me, but for supporting academic integrity. Okay, those two tools are HonorLock and Respondus, and those are built into Canvas. They're integrated. So as you are developing your assessments, right? These are partners of Canvas's, and so you can go ahead and know that you can begin to utilize this Canvas quiz and then utilize those tools. And those, the information on those tools can be found on the LMS website, lms.tamu.edu, and I'll be providing that link to the website at the end of this session today. But yeah, know that there are tools available out there for you. So here you go. Let me find where we left off. I believe it was on slide 9. There we go. Here's your first activity for quizzes. First, I want you to create a quiz. Remember, go to quizzes, select plus quiz. Add some quiz instructions in the rich content editor, right? Doesn't have to be a lot, but just some basic information. Adjust those quiz settings, okay? Then scroll back up to the top of the page and wait for me, all right? Let's give you 4 minutes because I want you to be able to look at all of those settings down below. If I can find my 4-minute mark. I want you to have a chance to look at all those settings, and we'll reconvene here in just a second. All right, as I mentioned, scroll up to the very top and we would meet again. We were on the details tab, right? Notice next to the details tab, there is a questions tab, right? Details, questions. Questions tab is where we will begin to actually create the questions for the assessment itself. So we will select questions. And notice we have 3 buttons down here: plus new question group, and find questions. We are going to live on the plus new question button. Just so you know, I will be talking about this new question group button in the advanced session. I forget what we call it. I believe something about student engagement this afternoon or on Thursday morning. But we are going to live on this plus new question because it's important for us to learn how to craft a question. Okay, well, not craft a question, but create the questions on our assessments. Now, I want to click the plus new question, and I want to talk to you about a couple of things. First of all, right here, it says question, right? It's highlighted. You want to give this a description as to what you are going to be titling, right? Information about your assessment. Not your assessment, your question. Okay. Give it some information. Now, I like to say something along the lines of San Antonio, home of multiple choice. Okay. I like to put in what is my question type also. Okay. I like to put in that information. That's because as you traverse through your Canvas journey, right, you'll learn that you can reuse questions. Okay. So by putting in a question description, right, as the title that really means something and is descriptive, it'll make your life so much easier. Just trust me on that one. Okay. Now, where this says multiple choice, this is where we have our question types from multiple choice all the way down to formula question. Okay. Multiple choice down to formula question. These first, I think it's 9 or something like that. These are all automatically graded by Canvas. Okay. So you put in the stimulus and you define what the correct answer is. Okay. So you are the one who defines what it is, and students will respond, and then it's automatically graded. Okay. Now these next two, essay question and file upload, this is what we consider a teacher intervention. Okay. Essay question, students get the rich content editor. I mentioned this earlier, right? The same rich content editor you have, they will get also. So whether this is actually typing out a response to an essay question, right? That's very possible, right? They can type all that information out, or using the media tool, right? And responding to something in a foreign language maybe, and or performance based, okay, or just responding orally, right? It doesn't have to be in a foreign language, it can just be an oral response. You can do that as well, but it does require you to actually go in and grade their response. Okay. File upload, they will upload a file to you. Okay. So whether this is giving them a question, then they have to go and create a document, okay, and then upload that. That is an option. Text, no question. Remember whenever we talked about our one question at a time, preventing backtracking, and I said that there was one question type that we wanted to be mindful of if we were backtracking, preventing backtracking? That is text, no question. Okay. Text, no question is where you give them a resource of some sort, right? An image of a geology formation, a reading passage, a video to watch. Okay. You give them a resource, then they answer a series of questions based upon that resource. So here is a graph equation, right? Now answer the next 5 questions based upon that equation. Okay. Students, right, will get to answer question 1 and 2 and be fine, and then they're going to get to 3, 4, and 5 and go, wait, what did it look like? And they've got to go back and look at it, whether that's scrolling up if it's one long page or going backwards to look at it. if we prevent backtracking, if we're doing one at a time and preventing backtracking, they cannot go back to it. Okay, so keep that in mind. If we're preventing backtracking and doing text no question, they cannot go back. But I'm going to start off with multiple choice. Okay, up here at the very top, this is where we put in our question. Okay, so San Antonio is home to what professional sports team? Okay, I don't think I mentioned this in my introduction, but I live in San Antonio. We unfortunately did not get any of the snow this weekend. I think it stopped off at our lovely friends an hour and a half north of me in Austin. So anyways, whenever we put this in, right, we put in our answer text, right? Spurs, Mavericks, Rockets. And then I'll throw in Cowboys instead of doing all of these choices. Now, if I needed to put something more than text, right? If I wanted to put in media as an answer choice, right? That's a question I get quite frequently. I want to put in an image for a multiple choice answer. Notice as I hover over any of these choices, I get this little edit pencil on the far right. If I click this edit pencil, I get the full rich content editor. So I can go ahead and edit that. Now, also, if Mavericks were to be the correct answer, notice as I hover over these, I get this little arrow. Just click that arrow and that will define what the correct answer is. Okay. Now, I can also provide comments. Okay. So if a student answers Spurs, let me do that one more time. Notice this little box with the ellipses in here. If I click in here, I can provide a comment to students. So whenever they answer that, they'll get the feedback. San Antonio is home of the Spurs. Oops. And we'll say done. Now they'll get that feedback. So I can do this for all of the incorrect answers, but I can also provide overall comments for the correct answer, overall for all of the incorrect answers, and then just general feedback, no matter how they answer. Okay. Reminder, this was in chapter 2 of your textbook. If you need additional information, go look at page 86, right? Now, one thing I always forget to point out up here in the upper right-hand corner, this points, okay? This points up here in the upper right. This is where you define the points of your question, and this will be a running total. Okay, so as you define the points of your question, it'll keep on adding as you add additional questions, and then it'll just add up to your quiz. So if you needed a 100-point quiz, you might need 10-point questions, right? Or 25-point questions, okay? So after you're done, notice at the very bottom, there's an update question button. Very important you say update question. If you don't, you will lose your question. We'll say update question and it saves it. Notice, I know that this is a multiple choice because it's in my title. I can edit this and then I would know, but this clearly tells me this is a multiple choice. To add another question, I'll say plus new question. And we will say, College Station, true, false. And we'll make this one a true, false, and we will say College Station is the best place in Texas. Now, this is probably not the most or best true, false question because this is a little subjective, but this is definitely true in my book. I am biased, I will admit. Okay, I always forget this. Like I said, this is going to be 5 points. Right. Although I think Kyle Field might be the best in Texas. If I'm being really honest, Kyle Field, I have a special place for. But after, right, same thing. Okay, comments, change your answer choice, and say update question. We'll say one more, we'll do new question, and we will say media upload essay, and we'll do an essay question. Okay. Now, when it comes to an essay, use the media uploader tool to answer the following question, right? Notice when it comes to the essay question, right? I only have general comments from my students, right? There's not necessarily a correct or incorrect answer on an essay tool, right? Or on an essay. There's just comments to students, right? There's no way to say, no, that was incorrect, all right? So there's just general comments. And we'll say update question. Notice 5, 10, 25, and it's a running total up here at the top for me. Excuse me. Whenever I am done, save or save and publish. Remember, draft, ready for students. And I'm going to say save and publish. And whenever I say save and publish, or even if I were to say save, notice instructions, okay? What is it? How many points is it, right? The 25 points. Am I shuffling my answers? Time limit, right? All of my settings, okay? All of my settings in one spot. All right. I would love for you to start creating your quiz, okay? Click on your questions tab. Add 3 different types of questions, right? Multiple choice, true, false, essay, right? Just get familiar with the tool itself. Make sure you give a good title to each question. Make sure you give it point value, right? I always forget that. Learn from my mistakes. Give it a good point value. Make sure you say update question, right? Make sure you update the question. When you're done, save or save and publish. We'll go a little bit longer on this one because we're doing the 3 questions. We'll do, about close-ish to 5 minutes. All right. Next thing I want to talk about are modules. Let me show you here in the template here. We have modules available to us. Now, as part of the modules, you have an instructor module that talks about the template, right? Everything. There's a student experience with some resources module. And then there's this week 1 module where you have this topic and title with all the templates, right? I showed you the week 1 individual assignment, showed you this week 1 quiz template, right? So all these templates are in here already for you to be able to come in and edit. Now, something else I would like to point out before we start actually developing our module itself, okay? When it comes to modules, it's all about creating a logical flow of content for our students, right? We want to give them our content so that it makes sense to them, okay? Right now, right, notice these items down here as part of our template, okay? This little eyeball with a line in it, this is our visibility indicator. As we hover over these items, right, it says, hey, this is disabled and not visible to our students. Notice assignments, right, quizzes, okay, right, pages, right, those areas where we were already this morning, okay, all those areas where we were this morning, they're disabled, okay, to our students, right? And that's just because if we give them access to everything under the sun, first of all, they're going to be click happy. They're just going to be diving around, looking to see what's there. Second of all, it's not going to make a lot of sense to them if we give them access to assignments. Okay, if we just give them access to the assignments index page, they're not going to necessarily know what to do, when to do it, if they've done it, etc. Okay. Same thing with quizzes, same thing with pages. What do I need to access in pages? Okay. But whenever we develop our modules, notice on this template module, right? We can do a weekly overview. with pages. Okay, first of all, notice these little icons. That's the little page icon. Weekly activities with a assignment, a discussion, and a quiz. Okay, and then a weekly review with a wrap up. Okay, we can lay it out for them. Okay, we can lay it out so that way it makes sense. Right, it makes sense to them. Now, what I want to do, okay, and I'm gonna let me preface this. I'm gonna show you how to create modules from scratch. Okay, I'm gonna show you how to create modules from scratch. We're gonna work through creating modules, organizing our modules, setting things up, doing all sorts of stuff. But then I'm gonna show you how to make your lives easier by duplicating what's already there. Okay, so let's start off, right? I think it's great to have a foundation of what do we need to do from the very beginning. So let's start off with adding a module. Okay, so up at the very top, you guessed it, here is the plus module button. Okay, plus module. We give it a title, right? Module name. So I'm going to call mine week 2 module. I like to give it dates sometimes. So we'll just say January 13th, 20th, 27th. Right? No, 11th, 18th, 25th. All right. So we'll say week 2 module, January 25th. We can put in the topic. Okay, we can put in the topic if we want to. All right, maybe this is going to be geology extra review. I don't know. And we'll say add module. Notice it puts it at the very bottom of the page. Okay, puts it at the very bottom underneath our other module. So every time we add a new module, it puts it at the very bottom. Okay, now when it comes to adding content to our module, notice right here, drop files here. If we just wanted to put a bunch of files in here, we could do that, but I think we can do better. Notice right here, this little plus button. Okay, this gray bar up here, this header, this gray bar, this plus button on the far right. This is where we can add content to our modules. Okay, let's look at the types of content that's available to us already. Up here at the very top, we can say add, and then here are all of our different items. It defaults the first time to assignments. If we've already created an assignment, notice week 2 assignment, journal reflection. That's that assignment I created earlier. Okay. So if we've created content, it'll show up down here at the bottom. If we need to create something on the fly, if we want to create an empty shell, okay, if we want to create an empty shell in order to have, to then go in later and edit this, okay, we can say this new assignment button at the very top, we'd give it a name, okay, and it's just going to be completely blank and we'd go in and edit it. But let me click here. Notice we have a quiz we can add, a file, a page, discussion, text header we're going to come back to, URL, and a tool. Okay, those are all of the items we have available. External tool is nothing more than those apps and those integrations that we also saw in our rich content editor earlier. Now, I'm just going to add some items. I'm going to say assignment. I'm going to take my week 2 assignment. We'll come back to indentation later. And I'm just going to say add item. Okay. Notice it puts it here in my module. Okay. Before I add anything else, I want to point out the difference in these two icons. Notice my item here is published. Okay. It has the green check mark. But my module as a whole is not published. This is one way we can limit access to students, okay? Even though this item is published, they're not going to see it inside the module until the module is published. Okay, so keep that in mind, that until I click this little, some people call it the Ghostbusters icon, I just call it the nope icon. Can students see this? Nope, they cannot. Okay, until we click this icon, students cannot see this module. Let's see, what else can we add? I've got a page. Where's my A&M content page, right? I was smart and started with an A. There's my A&M content page I made earlier. We'll say add item, okay? Now, let's say I want my content page above my week 2 assignment, right? Because just like the modules, when we add content to our modules, it puts it at the bottom, okay? Notice these 8 dots over here on the far left. These 8 dots. As you hover over them, you get kind of a compass. Click, hold, drag, and move it up. Okay, click, hold, drag, and move it where you need it in your module. Okay, let's add one more. I'm going to do an external URL. Okay, when it comes to an external URL, you know what, let's do this. It's a great website. When it comes to an external URL, okay, by default, Canvas is going to attempt to display this website within the module, okay? It's gonna take this website and try to embed it within the module inside of Canvas. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. Lots of times that just doesn't work. Okay, it just doesn't work. And that's just because of certificates and securities and different websites and stuff. They don't play nicely. So you can always test it and see if it works. But what I generally do by default is notice this load in a new tab button or checkbox. If we say load in a new tab and we say add item, okay, when we go to this item in our module, now you and students have a button up here at the top to load this in a new window or a new tab, okay? So it's an extra click, I know, but now I know it'll load. Students aren't going to get a frowny face. Literally, it's a frowny face. It's not a frowny face for the students. It's a frowny face on the screen. And we don't want that to happen. So just by default, I always say load in a new tab. Now, watch what happens. Notice my website URL is not published. Watch what happens to it whenever I publish my module. It published it as well. So if our module is not published and we have content inside our module that's not published, whenever we publish our module, it'll publish the items inside the module as well. Now, if we unpublish our module, it does not unpublish the items inside the module. Okay, I'm going to republish my module now. And I want you to start to set up a module, okay? I want you to click the plus module button, name it, create it. It'll be down here at the bottom of your page. Select the plus button, and I'm gonna want you to add at least 3 different types of content, right? You can add that page you created, the assignment you created. You can add a new empty shell of something. You can add a website URL. It is up to you, okay? I want you to play with it, all right? And then also reorder those items, right? Remember I showed you how to do that? It's the 8 dots on the far left. Click, hold, and drag, and move it where you need it to go, okay? Reorder those items as well, and we'll give you, about 4 minutes to do this. All right, let's see here. We are in the organizing section of our morning. We did a module creation so far. We've added some content on the full agenda. Part of adding content is also going to be organizing that content with some text headers and then reorganization further. We're going to get into indentation as well. Then we're going to talk about duplication, right? I alluded to this. How can we make our lives easier? Okay. I'm going to talk about that as well. And then we're going to get into a grading demo in this next little bit. So that's what we have left, but I want to be mindful of our breaks as well. So let's take another, let's do 11:10, right? So a 7 to 8 minute break. I think we did 10:10 last time. Let's do 11:10 this time. And we'll see you back here in just a little bit. All righty, everybody. It's the home stretch. I'm almost out of your hair. Anyways. All right. So let's continue with modules. Okay. We created a module. We added some basic content to that module, right? At least 3 items, maybe more if we were a little ambitious. And we might have reordered some of that content. Okay. But now we want to start to look at organizing that content. Okay. Because let's be honest, this doesn't mean a lot. Okay. This doesn't mean a lot. If we look at this template up here, weekly overview, weekly activities, weekly review, and notice how these items are kind of kicked in a little bit. That's the indentation. Okay. That's the indentation. So we can really help drive our students, right? If we're using this for a means for our students, for it to make sense, okay, for them to make sense, providing them a logical flow of content, we want it to make sense for them, right? So again, we're going to start with the plus button, and we're going to say add a text header. Okay, so underneath add, we're going to say text header, and I'm going to say, let's do resources. Okay. And we will say add item. And maybe we're going to have another one where we say assignments. Although I will admit, weekly activities and weekly overview, I like those text headers. I'm going to be honest. And maybe we're going to have, let's just do wrap up. Okay. We'll say add item. Now notice these are not published. Okay. So we need to make sure that these are published. We're just going to click the little nope icon and change it to the green check mark. And then we need to reorganize these. Okay. We need to reorganize them. So we're going to select the dots. Click, hold and drag. Click, hold and drag. Click, hold and drag. Okay. But keep in mind, this right now is in one long line. Okay. Compare that to the template where everything's kicked in and really organized. And you can tell these 3 items are a part of my weekly activities compared to this. I think it's part of assignments. So again, that is the indentation. Remember when we added an item, okay, we can do an indentation as we add the item, okay? We can do that. So indent 1, 2, or 3 levels. That's how far it's kicked in. Or after we've added the item, okay, after we've added the item, we can indent. For A&M content page, for example. As I hover over it, come to the far right, notice these 3 dots for that item. These 3 dots are the more options menu. When we select it, notice I have this increase indent option. So notice now this is kicked in a little bit. Okay. So notice, compare the two. So I can do this for all of my items. More options, increase indent. Okay. Notice that's just a little bit nicer. Now let me tell you, you can also do information, right? Text headers underneath text headers. So maybe this is going to be journal activities. Did I spell it right? I think so. We'll say add item. Well, I should have indented as I added it. Okay, we'll put this there, publish it, increase indent, and then we'll increase the dent on this one. So notice now week 2 assignment journal reflection is part of my journal activities. And then I could have done an assignment, another text header here, right? Discussions, quizzes, exams, right? And just gone down the list for all of their assignments. Okay, so you can put text headers under text headers. You can indent. Okay, you can indent and indent. Right, those possibilities are there. It's all about organization, right? Keeping things nice and organized. I keep saying for your students, but I use modules as well to access my content. Sometimes I go through my index pages to access things, but if I know where they are inside the modules, it's easy for me to access the content from the modules as well. So before I show you the duplication of a module, okay, before I show you that and how we can make your lives easier, I want you to begin to add some text headers. I want you to begin to indent underneath there, okay? And I want you to make sure your text headers are in the right spots by selecting these 8 dots on the left. Remember, moving and dragging where they need to go. Remember to add a text header. It's the plus button. Select add text header, put in your information. If you're doing a text header underneath a text header, remember you can indent as you're adding it. And then you can also indent or decrease indent, but indent after you've added the item as well with the more options for the item. Okay, so that is your next act. Oops, wrong thing. I needed to go to 12. That is your next activity. Okay, so add some text headers, move the text headers, and then indent those items as well. We'll give you 4 or 5 minutes or so, about 4.5, in order to really organize that content well. Set up a good structure, because remember, yes, we can duplicate the week 1 template, but we can duplicate this one as well. Okay, so set up a good structure that will work for you and your students. As we prepare to duplicate, I want to point out a couple of things. So let me just tell you first how to duplicate. So on my week 2 module, January 25th, to duplicate a module, I come over to the more options menu, the 3 vertical dots for the entire module. And notice I have this duplicate button. Okay, I have duplicate, and whenever I select it, down here at the bottom, it runs, and it puts a copy next to everything, except for the URL, of course. So that's why I said set up a good structure, right? Because it takes a copy. Notice if I go to this page, it is the exact copy of that page, and it is the copy. It is not the original. It is a copy of the page. So if you have a template, also notice it does not publish it, okay? But if you have a template like, oh, I don't know, a template that's part of your course that you want to utilize, notice if I come in here to my to-do list, look at this template for this weekly overview and to-do list, where I can come in, select this edit button, edit this content, put in my weekly overview and to-do list, put in my week 1 presentation and lecture, right? Update my individual assignment, okay? If I wanted to utilize this week 1 module, let me select my more options, notice I don't have the duplicate button. So what happened, right? Well, here's a tip. Look here. See my rocket ship? It's because there is a quiz inside my module. You cannot duplicate a module if there's a quiz inside of it. So this is a great opportunity for us to point something out. If I come to the more options for the quiz, select the more options, notice my trash can says remove, okay? It does not say delete. All it says is remove. All we're going to do here is remove it from the module. In order to delete something, we have to delete it from the index page. So if I wanted to delete this quiz, I would have to go to quizzes and delete it from there. Okay. Now, if for this quiz, if I remove it and confirm, notice it's successfully been removed from my module. Now, if I come up here, let me refresh my page. My modules have gotten hung up. Give it a second. Let's try this again. Now there's my duplicate. Okay. Now I can duplicate this, and it's going to duplicate, and I can now come in, select more options, and say edit for the entire title, and say week 2 title. Okay. And say update module. Okay. Now this has been done, and I can come in now, and as I edit the content on these pages, just update the title at that time. But now I can come back to week 1, select the plus button, select add, select quiz, week 1 quiz, add item, move it up, right? Oops, I selected the wrong spot, move it up. Let's indent that, I forgot to indent, there we go. Put it where it needs to go, and I can restore it back to that module, okay? So again, let me reinforce that. In order to duplicate a module, which again, to duplicate, more options, duplicate. More options for the entire module, duplicate. There cannot be a quiz inside your module, okay? So keep that in mind. So if you're wanting to utilize this structure that's in place, duplicate it, then come back to week 1 and update it for week 1, then update week 2, okay? So keep that in mind. Now, I'm going to be honest and transparent here. I failed to put in a slide for this activity, but I want you to duplicate your module, whether it's the module we created, right? I created this week 2 module, put in some information, either come in and duplicate it, okay? More options, duplicate, or come up to your week 1 inside your template, remove the quiz, okay? Remove the quiz and duplicate it, and then re-add it. It is up to you what you duplicate, okay? Up to you what you duplicate. I am going to utilize another slide for this hands-on activity. But again, it's all about going to the more options and saying duplicate. Oops, wrong one. More options and saying duplicate. And then modifying the title of your module, okay? More options, edit. And this will now be module 3, February, I don't know, 3rd. I don't know what date that would be. Update module, okay? So we're going to give you about 3-ish minutes to duplicate, update, or duplicate, or remove, duplicate, update, restore. Remember, this information is not what you're doing. This is all about duplicating, okay? All right, let's look at our agenda one more time. We started off the morning with building content, Remember, we went into a content page. We used the rich content editor, and we learned it there. And remember that by learning the rich content editor, we also saw it in assignments and in quizzes. You'll also have it in other places such as discussions and in announcements. But we learned different things with the rich content editor. And then we talked about assignments. Okay, we talked not in depth, but a lot about the different assignment types, right? And submission types, okay? When it comes to creating gradebook columns using assignments, okay? Then we talked about quizzes. In terms of a graded quiz specifically, remember you have surveys available as well. You also have practice quizzes, but we specifically talked about a graded quiz and the settings that are available, the different question types, all sorts of things. Then we organized our content, right? Yeah, we were in our index pages for pages, assignments, and quizzes. But then we took that content we created and we put it inside of a module, right? We want those modules for our students to flow, okay? We want them to access all of our content inside the module itself. We added content, right? Let you loose to explore different avenues. We then organized it really with text headers and indentation and really made things stand out a little bit. And we duplicated things, right? We wanted things to look, we wanted to make our lives easier. But now I want to give you just a demonstration, okay? Just a demonstration of the gradebook. Some of these things, this is truly meant to just be a demonstration. You can sit back and watch. But if you want to, you're more than welcome to hop into your practice shell there and follow along if you would like to. But I'm just going to give you an overview of some things to keep in mind with the gradebook itself. So I'm going to hop on over to my practice course here. Now, in your course navigation, you have grades. This grades link in the course navigation is the same for both you and your students. Just depending upon if you are a faculty member or if you are a student, will depend upon the view that you get. So if I click on grades, I get inside my course navigation. Now, first thing I want to point out, notice I lost my course navigation on the left, and that's just to maximize real estate. Okay, that's to maximize all of my real estate. Now, there's a couple of ways we can navigate outside of the gradebook, right? I just want you to know how do I get out of the gradebook? First of all, up here at the very top where it says Canvas Training Course, Kenneth Rogers, this will be your course, okay? This will take you back to the home page. Or these three lines right here, watch what happens when I select them. Look at that. Course navigation comes back. So if I don't want to go to my home page, maybe I need to go to my modules, okay? I can save a click just by opening up my course navigation. Now, first thing I would like to point out, okay? Well, first of all, I do have the test student in here. When you go into student view, you automatically get a test student in order to assess them. But one thing I would like to point out is notice as I scroll over in my gradebook, there's this total column on the far right-hand side. Okay. To me, it doesn't make a lot of sense to have this total column all the way at the end. Notice my screen is large enough that it's nowhere close to the student's name. I want this total column right next to the student. So in order to do that, I'm going to hover over the column. Notice as I start to hover over, I get a more options menu. I'm going to select the more options and I'm going to say move to front. Okay. So again, start to hover. You get the three dots. Select those three dots and say move to front. It's going to take a second. And now not only is this total column locked next to this, not only is this total column next to the student, it is locked in place. So as I scroll, as I'm assessing a student, I can see their updated total, okay? Now also, I can organize these columns, okay? One thing I can do also is I can change the width of the column. Notice these titles, as I hover over them, they're kind of truncated. Well, as I hover over them, it gives me the entire title name. But notice as I hover in between the columns on those lines, I get a little resize handle where if I click, hold, and drag, I can make this wider to see the entire name, or maybe if I'm done grading with it, make it smaller just to get multiple real estate, as much real estate as possible. Now, as I hover over, it still gives me the entire name, okay? So I can maximize my real estate as much as I can. Also, I can change the location of this column. I'm clicking and holding inside this column header. So let me just show you, just see where my arrow is right there. I know you can't hear it. You just got to trust me. I'm clicking, holding, and dragging. So I can move where this column is, okay? Wherever I want to put it. Now I can also take this a step further, okay? I'm going to come up here to view, okay? I can also change how my columns are arranged. Yes, I can manually arrange them. Okay, I can manually arrange these if I would like to, but I can choose the order in which they are arranged. Now, the default order is the order in which they are on the assignments index page. So the order that they are on that page is the order that they will be shown in the gradebook. Okay, assignment name alphabetically, the due date, however many points, highest to lowest or lowest to highest, or by module. Okay, we can choose that as well. Now, we also have filters available to us. Okay, we have assignment groups or modules where we can filter out our gradebook. Okay, so we can choose to just filter things out. Now, let me show you in my gradebook. Let me cancel out of this. Let me show you inside my gradebook just because I have quite a bit of information in here. Let it load. I believe I also have sections in my filters. Yeah. So if we do assignment groups, okay, we can say, show me my discussions. Okay, and there we go. There are my discussions. Or I can say, show me my assignments. I've got a lot of assignments. So that'll just filter out only the assignments. Okay, only the assignments. But I can take this a step further. Filters. Let me turn on my modules. Okay, right? So assignments, modules. Let me see my assignments that are in module 1, intro to the class. Look at that. Now I have just these 4 assignments. Okay, just these 4 assignments that are in module 1, intro to the class. Or I can say, show me my, I don't know if I have any exams in there. Let's see. Yeah, I've got 1 exam in there. Okay. Now, for those of you who may have large classes with multiple sections, okay, show me section 1. You notice it'll filter out the students. So now I can see just those students in that one section. Okay, so that's how you can begin to filter out that grade book. Okay, now to turn off these filters, we're just going to deselect them. Oops. Come on. Hop back over here. So again, let me show you my modules. Let me show you what's in week 2. There's my week 2 assignment. Okay. And then to turn it off, we can say turn off the modules. Now, Notice also, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Let me change my order. Notice also, I have my unpublished assignments being displayed in here. It's kind of cluttering things up, right? I've got a number of assignments in here that are already published and ready for students, but these unpublished, right? Maybe maybe they're templates, maybe they're unpublished because I'm done grading them and I don't want students to see them anymore. But I can turn off these in my gradebook and then I'll no longer be able to see them. So I'm going to come back to this view option. Okay, come back to this view option and notice down here underneath columns, unpublished is turned on. It's got the check mark. Okay, it's got the check mark. When we click on it, it turns off all of those unpublished assignments and just cleans things up for me. Okay, really cleans things up. So now, right, I can filter things out a little bit better, really get down to what exactly it is I'm looking for. Okay, so let me recap here for just a second. Our total column, remember, by default is over here on the far right. Right? Remember, we can select the more options and we can say move to front in order to move it up here next to our students. And then it'll be locked in place next to our students. If we don't want it up to the front, after we move it to the front, we can say move to end. Okay? So keep that in mind that we have that option available to us. Now, we also can change the width of a column, right? You have this resize handle in the middle, right? We can also change where a column is located. I'm just clicking, holding, and dragging in the middle, right? Wherever I want this to go, right? Wherever I need it to go, we'll just move these around. Or I can go to view and choose how I want it to be arranged, okay? So by clicking, holding, and dragging, that's manual ordering, or I can choose a prescribed order. I also have filters, right? Where I can filter it out by assignment groups, modules, or if I have a large course with multiple sections as well. I also showed you how to turn off your unpublished assignments, right? Because it's currently kind of cluttering up my gradebook quite a bit. Okay, it's currently cluttering things up. And I don't necessarily need to see all of that right now. So I can go to view and say unpublished assignments and turn it off. Okay, so that's just an overview of just some features of the gradebook and how you can begin to utilize it a little bit more efficiently. Okay, whenever you are teaching your courses and you have access to it with all of your students, and you want to be as efficient as possible. As we start to wrap things up here, I do want to provide you, I promised you this, a link to the LMS website, okay? This LMS website is a great resource for you. I'm going to put it here in the chat. All right, here we go. There is the link to the LMS website. There's different resources available to you. Okay, I mentioned HonorLock and Respondus for supporting academic integrity on our quizzes. There's information on those resources. There's information on different training offerings. I believe there's office hours. There's contact information, right? There's different resources available to you just to make sure that you're going to be successful, not only now, but in the future as well. I know that the Office of Academic Innovation really wants to make sure you are successful. I don't know why I'm having problems with that word, successful, as you move about inside of Canvas and just as you move about in teaching in general. So I know that they want to make sure you are good to go and make sure you are taking a look at that website and everything that they have to offer because I know just from my meetings with them, they want to make sure you are well taken care of. So with that, I will say to you, thank you for participating. Thank you so much for everything that you do, and Giggle Mackies.
To learn more, please visit lms.tamu.edu or email us at aihelp@tamu.edu. Thank you.